She looked at me, and I smiled back like a fool, an unmistakably, undeniably happy one. The kind of smile you can't control, born purely from joy. You look as though you had quite a pleasant time, Nick, she said with a knowing smile, the question clearly unnecessary. Yes. I really did. That was incredible. And you mentioned you'd seen another girl do that before? Well, to be honest, she didn't realize that I could see her with him. It was dark outside, and they were sitting in his car with the interior light on. I know I should have looked away, but I couldn't help myself, especially once I noticed what she appeared to be doing. Ah. I understand, I replied quietly, the meaning of the moment finally sinking in. She then stood and stepped closer, positioning herself in front of me with a playful smile, asking if I would help her feel clean again. I agreed without hesitation and did just that. In response, she shivered softly, caught up in the moment, as I lingered there, and she experienced another gentle wave of pleasure. "Oh wow, Nick, that feels wonderful," she exclaimed, her reaction making her feelings unmistakably clear. I said, "It's the least I can do after everything you've done for me. And I truly enjoy the closeness we share." She shuddered slightly before stepping back from me. "Oh wow," she laughed softly, catching her breath, "I'm definitely going to need another shower. And you should probably head out before someone happens to find you in here." I stood up, gathered my clothes from the floor, and put them back on, taking a moment to compose myself before moving on. "Before I leave," I asked softly, "may I know your name?" Lisa Marks," she replied. I froze in place, completely stunned. For a moment, I could barely breathe, let alone speak. The name hit me like a shock, leaving my mind scrambling to catch up with what I had just heard. "Any relation to Sylvia Marks?" I asked aloud, the thought slipping out before I had time to stop myself. "Yes, she is my cousin," Lisa replied calmly. "Really?" I asked in disbelief. "Have you spoken with her recently?" "Actually, I haven't spoken to her since before school started. I live here in the city and just haven't had the chance to catch up with her yet." "Why do you ask?" You'd probably be better off talking to Sylvia," I said hesitantly. "I'm fairly sure she wouldn't appreciate me speaking out of turn." She looked at me quizzically before asking, "So you've already met her? When did that happen?" "I shouldn't claim certainty," I said carefully, realizing that I didn't have enough information to be completely confident. "Is that so?" I said thoughtfully. "Well, it seems I'll need to speak with that girl, and the sooner, the better." "Yes, I think so too," I said, glancing at my watch and realizing it was almost time to catch the bus home. "Hey, I really enjoyed meeting you, Lisa. I'd love the chance to get to know you better." She studied me closely, finding nothing but genuine sincerity in my expression. "I think I might like that too," she replied slowly, a warm smile spreading across her face. "I'll see you later, Lisa." "I really have to get going now," I said with a friendly smile. She said goodbye to me as she turned and made her way back toward the showers, offering a final glance before disappearing from sight. I hurried out of the school and ran toward my bus, reaching it just moments before it pulled away. As I climbed aboard, I noticed Bill and Roy seated at the very back, while Terry was once again sitting behind her mother. I made a point of not looking at her directly, allowing myself only a brief, discreet glance as I walked past. A few rows ahead, Anna sat 3 seats from the back, chatting animatedly with the girl she had met earlier that morning. "Nick." Roy and Bill called out together, greeting me warmly. "Hey, guys. How did school go for you today?" I asked. Same old, Roy replied. Boring, boring, boring. The best part of my day is being out on the football field." Bill continued after Roy, pretty much the same old routine as last year. "Not much has changed." "Hey, Nick, thanks for helping Anna out today. I really appreciate you looking out for her," Roy added. "No problem, Roy. I was happy to help," I replied. At the mention of her name, Anna turned her head and gave us all a warm, cheerful smile before turning back to continue chatting with the girl beside her. "So you guys are coming over to my house after supper?" Roy asked Bill and me. We confirmed that we planned to visit him later that evening. For the rest of the ride home, the 3 of us talked about school, our teachers, classes, and the usual daily topics. When the bus stopped, The four of us, Bill, Roy, Anna, and I, got off together and walked along the road. When we reached my street, we parted ways. Roy and Anna continued on together, Bill headed off on his own, and we all made our way home. I opened the door to our house and saw my mother talking on the telephone. She covered the mouthpiece with her hand and whispered, "Hi, sweetie. How was school? Did you have a good day?" I nodded in agreement and began walking toward my room. As I passed close to her, her eyes suddenly widened, and she leaned forward, taking a quick sniff near my face. She looked at me with clear shock on her face before whispering sharply, "You need to wash your face and hands properly right now." I hadn't realized it was possible to whisper so loudly. "Okay, Mom," I replied quietly and obediently. She turned her attention back to the telephone, moving her hand aside as she said, "Sorry about that. I was just saying hello to my son, Nick. He's just gotten home from school." I missed the rest of her conversation as I turned the corner of the hallway and headed toward my bedroom. My sister was in her room, sitting at her desk with her back to me, clearly focused on her homework. She had always been excellent in school and worked diligently to maintain her success. "Hey, sis, what are you up to?" I asked as I walked past her doorway. "Just homework, lots and lots of homework," she said. She didn't sound too upset about having so much to do, but that wasn't unusual for her. "Well, have fun then." I went into my room and quietly closed the door behind me. I dropped my school bag on the floor and glanced at myself in the mirror on my dresser. I could tell that I really should have washed my face before leaving school. There was a faint sheen on it and it didn't feel very clean. I sniffed my fingers and noticed they also needed washing. Opening my door, I headed to the bathroom and cleaned up before returning to my room. I left the door open, as I usually did unless I needed peace and quiet for homework. If I ever needed real privacy, I could always go downstairs to my small recreation room. I sat on my bed with my eyes closed, thinking about the chain of events that had begun when Lisa accidentally knocked me over in the school hallway. I could feel my body tense slightly as memories of my encounter with her replayed vividly in my mind. By the time I reached that part of the memory, I was already overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment. It had been an incredible and completely new experience for me, one I had never felt before. The closeness, the sensation of her attention, and the rush of emotion all came together as I experienced my very first climax. It was unforgettable, both for how powerful it felt and for how deeply it stayed with me afterward. It occurred to me that, technically speaking, I might no longer be considered a virgin, although opinions on that subject vary widely. Even popular magazines like Playboy and Penthouse have been divided on the issue. Roughly half of the people argued that virginity is lost only through full physical intimacy, and that other forms of closeness do not count. The other half believed that intimate contact of any kind does count, and that experiencing your first moment of sexual fulfillment in that way means you are no longer a virgin. My train of thought was interrupted when Mom called us all in for supper. We gathered around the kitchen table and began our meal, starting with a fresh salad and finishing with homemade fish and chips. I complimented Mom on the food, it was truly delicious. "Thank you, Nick. It means a lot to hear that you appreciate the effort I put into preparing our meals," she said with a warm smile. I smiled back at her, quietly wondering whether she might later mention the condition of my face when I had first arrived home. Supper had just finished, and my father and sister began clearing the table and washing the dishes. I turned to my mother and told her that Roy had invited me over after supper. She considered it for a moment, then said it was fine as long as I was home by 11 o'clock. As I headed out the door to Roy's house, I found myself wondering what his family would be like and whether they would like me. I already knew that Roy and Anna enjoyed my company, but I had no idea how the rest of his family might feel about me.